One man prayed and triggered a war in heaven. For 21 days, a dark force blocked an angel until Michael the Archangel was sent to break through. What if your prayer does the same? Stay with me. This changes everything. There's a powerful moment in Scripture most people overlook. It's hidden in just a few verses. No big scene, no loud moment, no grand music, but it describes one of the greatest spiritual wars ever. It didn't happen on earth. It happened beyond the veil. It was so intense that a divine messenger was delayed for 21 days. Stopped by a dark force the Bible calls the Prince of Persia. Not a man, not a physical ruler, but a demonic entity tied to a region, strong enough to delay an angel. Then Michael arrived. Not just any angel, Michael the Archangel, heaven's fighter, commander of God's celestial armies. And when he entered that unseen world, he didn't come to discuss terms. He came to destroy the opposition. He came to tear through the darkness. He came to open the path so the message could reach its destination. And when Michael appeared, everything changed. Here's what's wild. This didn't unfold during some global crisis. It wasn't a battle between kingdoms. It all started because one person prayed, one man fasted, one man sought God, and that man was Daniel. If stories like this stir your heart, you're in the right space. Hit like, subscribe, and click the bell so you don't miss these deep scriptural insights. There's a silence that doesn't bring peace, not the quiet that calms. It's the kind you feel after crying out to God and hearing nothing. You pray, nothing changes. You fast, nothing gives way. You wait, but nothing moves. Have you felt that? Daniel knew it well. By the 10th chapter of his book, Daniel was old. He had lived through exile, served under kings, survived the lions, and witnessed terrifying visions. He wasn't new to faith. He had walked with God for decades. Still, we find him in grief, poured out and waiting. He says he fasted for 3 whole weeks. No meat, no wine, no fragrant oils, nothing to soothe him, just sorrow and focus. We're not told why he was grieving, but the pain is heavy. He wanted direction. He needed truth. He cried for a word from heaven, but there was no reply. For 21 days, just silence. No angel, no dream, no sound. I wonder what went through his thoughts. Did he question if God heard him? Did he think he was to blame? I think about times in my life when I begged God for a sign, and all I got was silence. No hint, no confirmation, just time passing and aching inside. And soon you start to wonder, maybe God isn't listening. Maybe I missed something. But Daniel didn't quit. He kept seeking. He remained in prayer. He stayed in position, not knowing that while he was kneeling, something fierce was unfolding in the unseen realm. On the 21st day, he was standing near the Tigris River, and suddenly, he looked up and saw someone, not human, not of this world, but a radiant being so powerful, so blinding, that even those nearby who couldn't see him ran in fear. Daniel collapsed. His strength left him. He couldn't breathe or talk. He was overwhelmed by divine presence. Then the being spoke. "Do not be afraid, Daniel. From the first day you set your heart to understand and humbled yourself before God, your words were heard, since the very first moment." That line shook me. Daniel thought heaven was silent, but God had already responded on day 1. The angel went on, "But the Prince of Persia resisted me for 21 days. This is the twist. We now see what really happened. It wasn't delay from disinterest. It wasn't God being slow. It was spiritual war. The angel had been trying to reach Daniel all along, but he was blocked, not by men, not by problems on earth, but by a strong demonic being, a spiritual ruler over Persia. And just when the battle seemed lost, Michael entered, the Archangel, the warrior of heaven. And the moment he did, the enemy's grip was broken. The way opened. The answer reached Daniel. What gets me is that Daniel had no idea. He simply remained faithful. He kept praying. He kept fasting. He stayed aligned with what heaven was already doing. And maybe, just maybe, the same applies to us. What if your silence isn't silence at all? What if your prayer was heard long ago? What if the delay isn't punishment, but resistance from darkness? Would you keep praying? Would you keep showing up even when you feel nothing? Daniel did. And through him, we see what happens behind the curtain. Wars that rage in the spiritual world, affecting us even if we're unaware. When the resistance became too strong, Michael came, not to soothe, but to confront. Daniel was still trembling, his body collapsed, his face to the ground. And this from a man who had seen visions, beasts, and even the Ancient of Days. Yet this encounter left him undone. Just as he was about to faint, a hand, gentle but charged with divine power, touched him and helped him up. Then came the voice again, "Daniel, you who are greatly loved." Those words, greatly loved, cut through everything, through fear, through doubt, through long silence. Let's pause here, because someone watching this needs to hear it. You, right now, in your longing, in your waiting, are greatly loved. You are not invisible, not rejected. You are beloved. That was the first message heaven gave Daniel. And I believe it's the message heaven wants you to hear too. Then the angel continued, "From the first day you set your heart to seek God and humbled yourself, your words were heard, and I have come because of your words." And here, the story flips again. Daniel believed God had been quiet for 3 weeks. But the truth? Heaven responded right away. Then something changed. Something that challenges everything we think we know about spiritual warfare. The angel says, "But the prince of Persia blocked me for 21 days. Let that settle in. This wasn't symbolic. It wasn't just an impression. It was a real spiritual being, a powerful dark force that stood in opposition to a divine messenger. For 3 weeks, this being held his position. Now consider this, a force so influential, so tied to Persia's system, that it stopped an angel. This reveals 2 truths. Your prayers can ignite battles in unseen places. And second, there are spiritual enemies determined to keep God's answer from reaching you. That may sound frightening, but it's freeing. It means your prayers count. Your faith causes movement. What you're doing in private, crying out, staying committed, is affecting the spiritual realm. And during that invisible standoff, something miraculous occurred. The angel said, "Then Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me." That changed everything. Michael the Archangel, God's warrior, the one who watches over his people, entered the fight. Not to talk, but to battle. And once he joined, the fight turned. The wall broke. The demonic force fell back. The angel broke free. Daniel's answer was delivered. This is why these stories matter. And I wonder, how many of us gave up on day 21 without knowing Michael was coming? How many stopped praying because we thought heaven was quiet? How many were one day away from the breakthrough, but quit because we didn't feel anything? The Prince of Persia. Let's look closer at this mysterious being, the one called the Prince of the Kingdom of Persia. Who or what exactly was he? He wasn't a royal advisor or general. No man could restrain a heavenly being. This wasn't human at all. The term Prince of Persia refers to a spiritual ruler assigned to a region. What today we call a principality, one of the highest-ranking demonic forces. He wasn't just causing chaos randomly. He had an assignment. His mission was to dominate the spiritual atmosphere over Persia, then the most powerful empire on earth. Let that sink in, because it means nations and governments aren't just political machines. There are unseen forces that influence them, whispers behind thrones, spirits manipulating the course of history. That's not superstition. It's scripture. Paul explained it in Ephesians 6:12. "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." The Prince of Persia was one of those rulers, a dark, ancient, intelligent power. And for 21 days he was winning. He blocked the angel. He held up the answer. He resisted God's will. And for a time he succeeded, until Michael showed up. Now think about the level of resistance. It required Michael, the Archangel, to break through. That means this enemy wasn't minor. He wasn't low level. He was a general of darkness. And here's what's more disturbing. The fight didn't end with Michael's arrival. The angel told Daniel something eerie. After I leave, I must return to fight the prince of Persia, and after him, the prince of Greece will rise. Daniel 10:20. Wait, what? Another one? Yes, the next empire, Greece, would also have its own principality, another dark ruler for the next kingdom. This wasn't a one-time moment. It was part of a spiritual pattern, a global generational war tied to every major rise and fall. That realization is sobering. What we see in world events, war, politics, chaos, may have spiritual roots. That doesn't mean we live in fear, but it does mean we wake up. If Persia and Greece had princes, what about nations today? What if behind every global crisis, there's a spiritual power stirring confusion? That's not conspiracy. That's Bible. And if that's true, we need more than strategies. We need people who know how to pray, people like Daniel. Let me ask you honestly, do you spend more time arguing about politics than praying? Have you been fighting the wrong enemy? Because our battle isn't human. It's not about people. It's not that person on the news. It's not a leader or a neighbor. The real war is ancient. Daniel didn't go to war with the king. He fought in prayer. And that prayer was so aligned with heaven, it triggered a battle in the skies. A battle that required Michael to enter. What if your prayer has the same potential? What if your persistence shakes the heavens and tips the balance for your family, your city, your nation? Now let's talk about Michael, the angel who didn't come to talk, but came to fight. Michael only shows up in a few places, and every time, he's fighting. He's not like Gabriel who brings messages. Michael doesn't speak much. He arrives when it's time for strength to confront darkness. In Daniel 10, he fought Persia's prince. In Daniel 12, he's called the great protector of God's people. In Jude, he contends with Satan over Moses' body. And in Revelation 12, he leads heaven's army against the dragon and casts Satan from the sky. Michael is not poetic symbolism. He is a heavenly warrior. And when he shows up, something serious is happening. In Daniel's story, the moment Michael came, the deadlock broke. The angel escaped. The silence ended. And I wonder, how many times in our lives has help arrived like that? How often has God sent Michael and we didn't even know it? Because we live in the physical realm, but the spiritual realm is just as real. This story proves God hears us. And when resistance comes, he doesn't retreat. He sends backup. He sends Michael. So if you're waiting, don't let go. If the silence lingers, don't assume heaven forgot. Maybe there's a war behind the scenes. Your part? Do what Daniel did. Stay faithful. Keep praying. Don't give up on day 20 when Michael might arrive on day 21. God hears you. The battle may be hidden, but the effects are real. And you, beloved, are never fighting alone. If this message touched you, drop a comment below. Tell your story. Let's talk about those silent seasons, those battles and those breakthroughs. Because remembering we're not alone gives us strength for the next step. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss more stories like this. So here's what this all means. Your prayers matter more than you know. The silence you feel, it may not be silence at all, but a sign that something greater is happening. Behind the curtain, God may be moving pieces, dispatching angels, waging war on your behalf. What feels like delay could be divine timing. What feels like resistance might mean your prayer is a threat to darkness. So hold your ground. Stay in the fight. Because heaven doesn't ignore a heart set on seeking God. And just like Daniel, you may not see the battle. But that doesn't mean it's not being fought. The breakthrough you've been waiting for might be just a moment away. And when the time is right, God will send what you need. Even Michael, if that's what it takes. So don't quit on day 20, because day 21 is coming. And with it, an answer that shifts everything.